Welcome to Echoes of Africa, where hidden stories, bold voices, and untold truths rise from the heart of the continent. Before you dive in, hit subscribe and turn on the bell, because every echo here reveals the Africa they don't want you to see. Africa stands on one of the most geologically powerful foundations on Earth. Beneath its eastern corridor lies a vast and dynamic system of molten rock, stretching thousands of kilometers from the Red Sea to Mozambique. This immense heat engine, driven by the slow pulling apart of tectonic plates, has created one of the richest clean energy zones on the planet. Scientists studying the East African Rift have long recognized that Africa holds a unique position in global geology. But recent deep Earth imaging has revealed a far more complex and energetic subsurface environment than previously understood. What was once believed to be a scattered network of magma pockets is now understood as a semi-continuous flow of molten rock, moving through deep channels that extend across multiple nations. This immense underground heat is not a single river, but rather a massive interconnected system that supplies volcanoes, builds new crust, and heats the crust from below. Although it exists at depths far beyond human reach, its presence shapes Africa's surface and its future. This system supplies the geothermal reservoirs that Kenya, Ethiopia, Tanzania, Djibouti, and Uganda have begun tapping for electricity. Reservoirs that form when underground heat rises close enough to allow accessible, steam-driven power extraction. The deeper structure is far hotter, far larger, and far more powerful. It contains thermal energy on a planetary scale, and if fully mapped and strategically tapped, it could support clean electricity for hundreds of millions of people for generations. Modern research teams have used seismic tomography and satellite-based crustal imaging to observe how molten material behaves under Africa. These discoveries have transformed the scientific understanding of the continent's geology. The East African Rift is splitting Africa into two massive tectonic plates, creating new pathways for heat from the mantle. In some areas, the crust thins dramatically, allowing mantle heat to rise much closer to the surface than in most regions of the world. This is why the rift hosts dozens of volcanoes, steam fields, geothermal vents, and hot reservoirs. This is also why the region has been called one of the most promising geothermal zones ever recorded. Energy experts estimate that Africa's geothermal potential exceeds 20 gigawatts in the near term, with far higher long-term potential as drilling technologies advance. Unlike solar or wind, geothermal energy operates continuously, unaffected by weather or daylight. It can serve as baseload power, something many African nations urgently need to stabilize grids, support urban growth, and power industrial expansion. The extraordinary heat beneath Africa's surface represents one of the continent's greatest untapped assets. And as more countries pursue energy independence, geothermal power is emerging as a cornerstone of national strategy. The scientific community has been particularly surprised by the deep Earth imaging that suggests broad channels of partially molten rock flowing beneath the rift. This movement is incredibly slow, occurring over thousands or millions of years, but its scale is immense. It demonstrates that Africa sits above a major mantle upwelling, one of the largest heat sources in the world. These molten systems generate the intense heat that rises into sedimentary layers, heats groundwater, and forms steam reservoirs capable of powering turbines. Advances in super-deep drilling, high-temperature materials, and closed-loop geothermal systems promise access to heat previously unreachable. Kenya has already demonstrated what methodical development can achieve. Its Alkaria geothermal complex is the largest in Africa and one of the largest in the world. It has reduced the nation's reliance on fossil fuels, stabilized electricity pricing, and created a blueprint for other countries to follow. Ethiopia is advancing its own geothermal initiatives, including the Rift Valley projects near Lingano. Djibouti has moved aggressively toward geothermal expansion to end its dependence on imported energy. Tanzania and Uganda are conducting exploratory drilling after identifying multiple promising high-temperature zones. Each discovery reinforces the same foundational geological truth. Africa's underground heat system is far larger and more powerful than early research suggested. This growing awareness is drawing international attention. Global energy companies, technology firms, and scientific institutions are increasingly investing in African geothermal research. The possibility of powering industrial zones, data centers, rail systems, and manufacturing hubs with clean underground heat is attracting both governments and private investors. Africa's long-term economic growth is closely tied to reliable electricity, and geothermal power offers a stable backbone for future grids. Many nations are now integrating geothermal into their national development plans, recognizing that solar and wind alone cannot meet rising demand. The scale of Africa's molten systems is also inspiring new kinds of studies. Deep Earth scientists are analyzing how mantle plumes under East Africa might influence future volcanic activity, crustal thinning, and even future changes in continental shape. Geologists widely agree that the Rift Valley is slowly splitting off a new continent over tens of millions of years. This geological process creates unique opportunities for future energy development, as each phase of rifting brings heat closer to the surface. Over long timescales, Africa may become the most geothermally accessible region in the world. The potential energy embedded in Africa's molten systems is staggering. If only a small fraction of the accessible high-temperature zones were fully developed, they could support hundreds of millions of people with clean, reliable electricity. As drilling technology advances, so does the feasible output. Closed-loop systems, which do not require volcanic or water-rich environments, open the possibility of harvesting heat from areas previously considered unsuitable. These systems inject and circulate working fluids through sealed pipes, drawing heat from the earth without interacting with groundwater or natural reservoirs. Their deployment could enable geothermal development far beyond traditional hotspots. Africa's geothermal landscape is uniquely capable of supporting this next generation of energy extraction. The thinning crust of the rift allows heat to rise more efficiently. The presence of multiple volcanic zones ensures long-term renewal of underground heat. The continent's geological youth compared to other ancient cratons means its crust remains dynamic, warm, and in some areas exceptionally thin. This combination makes Africa an ideal testing ground for advanced geothermal technologies that other continents cannot implement as easily. Energy planners are increasingly discussing continental-scale geothermal strategies. The idea of interconnected grids powered by deep earth heat is gaining attention. As countries build more geothermal plants, the possibility of sharing power across national borders becomes practical. Geothermal output is stable and predictable, making it suitable for international energy trade. In regions where power shortages are common, the infusion of baseload geothermal capacity could transform entire economies. Manufacturing, digital infrastructure, hydrogen production, and electrified transport all become more feasible with constant, affordable electricity. The molten systems beneath Africa also offer insights into planetary science. By studying how heat moves through the continent's crust, scientists gain a clearer understanding of Earth's internal processes. Some studies focus on how African mantle plumes may interact with deep structures beneath the crust. Others examine the relationship between molten channels and surface volcanism. Each contribution advances global knowledge while reinforcing Africa's central role in Earth's geological evolution. International partners increasingly recognize Africa as a leader in geothermal potential. Countries such as Japan, Iceland, the United States, and Germany are collaborating with African nations to support drilling, research, and capacity building. Global institutions view Africa's geothermal expansion as a major opportunity for climate-aligned development. Clean, abundant, and reliable heat-based energy could play a major role in Africa's growth, potentially reducing reliance on fossil fuels and strengthening energy security. The next decade will likely see accelerated exploration. More seismic imaging will map the deeper molten regions. More pilot drilling projects will evaluate specific sites. More countries will authorize geothermal blocks for development. Private investors will target industrial zones where geothermal can power factories, technology parks, and export facilities. As each project succeeds, confidence grows, and larger investment follows. Africa's subsurface heat is not simply a scientific curiosity. It is a strategic asset. It represents an opportunity to build energy independence, economic resilience, and technological leadership. Many nations struggle with the volatility of global fuel markets, but geothermal power eliminates that dependency. Once infrastructure is built, the energy source itself is permanent. Heat from the earth does not fluctuate with seasons, international markets, or political instability. It is stable, predictable, and essentially limitless. The story unfolding beneath Africa is one of immense potential. The continent's molten systems, vast, ancient, and endlessly renewing, offer a foundation upon which a new energy future can be built. With thoughtful development, advanced drilling technology, and international cooperation, Africa could become one of the world's leaders in clean baseload power. The heat beneath Africa could power industries, cities, and nations. It could support digital economies, electrified transportation, and climate-resilient infrastructure. As discoveries continue to reveal the magnitude of subsurface heat systems, the world is beginning to understand what scientists have been saying for years. Africa is one of the most energy-rich regions on the planet, not because of oil or gas, but because of the enduring power of the Earth itself. The next era of global energy may well be shaped not by pipelines, refineries, or coal plants, but by the molten systems quietly shaping Africa's landscape from below. The continent's deep earth power is real, vast, and increasingly accessible. And as Africa moves to harness it, the world is watching the rise of a new clean energy giant. You've been watching Echoes of Africa, where every story carries the sound of tomorrow. If this moved you, subscribe now, like, and share so Africa's voice never fades into silence.